Aliens and Earthlings.
What up?
Welcome back to another episode of Contact Pluto. I'm Kontact Tha Capricorn. This is Pluto Da Scorpio. Today's episode, we will be riffing on the concept of thought versus imagination. Jules, you came up with this topic.
Do you want me to elaborate where that came from? So I had a dream.
Okay.
Because I had a hard time differentiating like what I had dreamed versus what I had thought I dreamed.
Okay.
So it kind of let me down this path of a tangent to like try to differentiate the difference between what I thought imagination was and what I thought was.
Okay.
Because in essence, what do you think thought means versus imagination? So that morning, I woke up and I was thinking about these concepts in my head. And I was actually riffing with Kaylin about it, and we actually got like to a certain point where it was starting to make some cool sense.
Okay.
But before I get into that conversation, I'd rather have this conversation.
Sure. Because when you said it immediately, my thought was thoughts are words, whereas imagination is images. Like if I imagine something, I see a picture of it. Think something, I may see a picture of it, but I'm kind of like talking to myself. There's a dialogue.
I think that's just a literal way of thinking about it. I think imagination can be just creative thought construct. Using your imagination in a creative way.
Mm. So
or that's using thought in a creative way. So where it gets tricky is how do you know what is imagination and what is thought? Does it take thought to get to imagination? Or is everything imagination and you just identify as thought?
Well, there's two things, right? If I say cherry right now, we can both imagine
a cherry, right?
But sometimes I'll have imagination just come to me. Like I'll see an image and I wasn't thinking of that image specifically.
Well, that's because you're a wizard.
Well, maybe that's true, but for the sake of, are you trying to sort of determine if they're
also welcome back?
Same?
It's been fucking forever since we did a podcast.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying.
Yes, yeah. The people know, and the dates on the last episode versus this one will.
I am currently smoking some mugwort and lavender right now.
Courtesy of Mystic Moons in town, or sources elsewhere as well?
No, the lavender was picked around here, but the mugwort is from Mystic Moons.
Nice. Where'd you get the lavender?
Kaylin somewhere.
Mm-hmm. Like she picked it in the forest, or she?
Yeah, she picked it up.
Literally.
Yeah.
Huh. Cool.
And had it drying on our fridge for like a month or two.
Yeah, as you would.
All right, so let's start off. Before we hit what imagination is,
yeah,
give me your thought on thoughts.
It's just the inner dialogue in your head. I guess I'm confused. Are we trying to say that they're two different things, or are we just trying to say that they're the same thing but two sides of the coin?
Well, that's exactly it. We're trying to figure out where those things intertwine, or if they don't intertwine, or if they're one and the same thing, or if they're not.
Mm-hmm.
So we're basically breaking it down.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, because my mind immediately is like, well, this is not complicated. So one's one and one's the other.
Well, yeah.
And they do dance together.
They do dance together. Initially, before I get into like more like philosophical topics of this, I can see like a Venn diagram of where thoughts and imagination intersect, or what was the word there? Intersect. Sorry.
Because there's the obvious, like, if you're stressing and you're worrying, you're thinking, poorly about something, or you're concerned, whatever. Maybe it's a bit of merit, but the imagination if you start imagining those things, I guess it's like you're not. It is tasty. I taste more lavender in that hit.
Yeah.
If you're worrying, and then you start imagining what the scenario is that you're worrying about, like taking place, then that gets to the sort of field of like how much can you imagine your reality.
I see what you mean. So you started off by saying that thought was your inner dialogue. So could you be having thoughts while you're imagining things? So maybe in that scenario, imagination could be something that's going along, and you have thoughts in between or during that imagination creation.
Yeah, well, because basically the imagination is like the screen, and the thoughts are the narrator. So yeah, I'm thinking cherry. I'll go back to that example, and then I think cherry on a plate. So then the cherry comes to me on a plate, and I think, oh, anything. A dog comes and eats it. So now the dog comes and eats it. So in my imagination, this like image or this movie is happening, but my thoughts are dictating what's happening. So is there more like, you're saying if the imagination is occurring, can you think while it's occurring? Is that a question that you're asking?
That's just like being aware of itself. So now let's get to the nitty gritty of things here. So a thought, first and foremost, is post-think.
Post-think? Because it's thought. Like just the past term, literally?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because to be able to have a thought, you have to think about it, right? Do you think that's accurate? Every think turns into a thought?
Yeah. So I guess because sometimes thoughts will pop in my head that I wasn't thinking about, but they're thoughts, not images. Like say it's just like a concept.
A concept?
So like a concept will like
So it's not, okay, so...
It's odd because it's coming in sort of the fashion.
So how can you identify it?
Well, because I wasn't fucking thinking about it prior to. Like,
but what is the mechanism of identifying the thought? Is it a feeling? Is it like a tangent? Is it something that's coming in? Do you know what I mean? Like, is it something that like you said? Okay, thought just came to me. It's like what is that? That's just like an idea. Is it?
Yeah, it's an idea. Because I'm trying to think of an example to kind of paint this better. I know in the shower, a lot of times I'll have like thoughts or sort of there's the cliche of like
reflections or things like that.
Well, you know, like if you're thinking of a problem, then you sort of like leave it, and then it's suddenly like the solution appears later on. Like that's a common thing I think a number of people have experienced. If I want to just go to a song, because a song's not necessarily imagination, but sometimes I'll just like have, I guess, like a rhythm and then a lyric to it, and then just the lyrics will come almost naturally. Like I didn't really think of them, whereas other times like I'll think about the lyrics because it's like I write this, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm saying. What would I say next after this? And it becomes more logical.
You're talking about like actually writing a song.
Yeah, but to help depict this of like how do the thoughts come? Like the thoughts come in different ways. Like they come sometimes in the fashion of imagination. Like it's just, oh, it's there, you know. And because imagination can come like that too. You're just, you know, I don't know, sort of there, not doing anything, and then suddenly you start thinking of, I don't know, a time you had with friends, like, you know, whatever, nostalgia. So that almost comes in the format of imagination, I would say, just because I think that imagination, not always, but I would say like 50% of the time it's like your thoughts provoking it, and the other 50% of the time it's just like, it's just coming.
So now to bring back that to the point I was making before. So, is every think a thought, or can think be imagination?
Only if it's an image.
Only if it's an image. So now we're getting to the word of imagination, of image.
Well, because I'm thinking you might need to almost use a different term for imagination, because I feel like you're talking about something bigger that might not, it's like imagination, but not specifically. Because imagination obviously has image in it.
I don't know. I think putting my words in my mouth there. I'm trying to like describe the mechanism of how we get there.
Well, it just would be like we have antennas and they receive information, and sometimes we dictate that information, sometimes we receive that information.
It sounds a little alien, but like...
Well, but I do think that, because if, like I said, if you're not consciously deciding the thoughts, you know, you're there thinking about what you're going to cook for supper, like, you're choosing that, you're doing something, like, practical and reality-based, but say after supper you're sitting on the couch, you're watching TV, and then suddenly just that thought of you and your friends 10 years ago pops into your head.
Yeah.
Like, you sort of receive that, right? Yeah. So it's like, I mean, people don't necessarily need to consider themselves having an antenna.
That also could be triggered by something too, right? Like you look at something, then it triggers a memory.
For the sake of this, I'm saying they're untriggered.
Untriggered
untriggered nostalgia. Because there is obviously triggered nostalgia.
So when you have untriggered nostalgia, when you have these images, that is your imagination?
Yeah, because I suppose the images then are memories, right?
Yeah.
So you're remembering the time and you picture yourself 2 cool 45s in
so
your hand on top of
remembering
school.
is the imagination mechanism.
It would be part of it, yeah, because you're seeing the visual.
I like this. This is getting something really cool now.
Because there's obviously the prompted stuff. Like if I'm in the liquor store and I see cool 45, my memory goes back to a bunch of times.
Tuesdays,
Tuesdays, number of hooligan shit. And so that one's prompted. But say I'm just there and then suddenly I think of a friend. And then I, like this is also the quintessential thing is like you think of a friend and then 2 days later you hear from that person.
Yes,
like we've kind of maybe touched on that before, but that doesn't really fall in line with imagination, but it makes use of imagination because you might conjure an image of that person. There's a cool video.
I actually heard about that recently. I'll link you to it later or if you watch it later. It's a guy actually explaining that in detail of how we use that mechanism of how people like. When someone comes into your brain, you haven't thought about it in a long time, and then you think about them, and then like 5 minutes later, they like message you or call you, or you see them.
Yeah.
It's kind of like that coincidence type of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So there's a video of the guy explaining it very well.
The bigger picture is probably not coincidence. It's like those ships were on their way to each other irregardless, and so had you not thought of them, you still would have met them 2 days later or heard from them 2 days later. But it's like your antenna sort of picked up on that, like, oh, the ship's GPS notices
that's how I like to think about it, but like for in layman's terms, it's like it was a coincidence.
Yeah, but we know there's no such thing as coincidences.
I know this, but like
some people don't know that coincidence.
I mean, like, if you're very scientific, obviously that's where you're going to rule is coincidence, right?
Yeah, where you're going to rob yourself.
Which is hilarious because I remember listening to like mystery schools and stuff like that, and he coined a really cool concept in this guy on YouTube. He has this whole like occultic like school.
Yeah.
Of like learning magic and stuff, and he said, in layman's terms, magic is coincidence control. And I always like the way he put that because it kind of allows you to think differently about that specifically.
Because he's thinking that coincidence is just like you receive something that you want, but you didn't really know you were going to receive it, and now it's like, all right, I actually want to receive it, so I'm going to consciously like try and do some mental work.
It's like you're on the right path there. It's using the word control is you have ability to navigate the direction of where the coincidence is coming and going.
Yeah, because this, I think...
That comes with intention. I'm sure you know about that.
Yeah, but say you want something and it doesn't come to you, and you do all the magic stuff to bring it towards you. Sometimes I think life's plan, like, you can only interfere with life's plan for you to a certain degree. And then I would also say that it depends on the individual. I think there's some people that their life is more mutable, so they're able to make better use of what they call the magic concept of bringing stuff towards them, because their life, the point of their life is to learn how to be more conscious and like dictate their actions and habits, and they're supposed to learn control over that. I've personally not had the greatest experience pulling things towards me that I've wanted on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Like, it's happened, but ideally it's like I could just sit here and be like, $1 million, this guitar pedal, this thing, that thing. Like, I could just think this and then go downstairs, and 10 minutes later it's at my door. To me, that's like the ultimate
manifestation of that. Yeah.
And that to me doesn't occur but for a reason, because in the reason is where you learn something that's equally as valuable as the object that you were trying to pull towards you.
Right.
So whether it be patience, or whether it's just like you get that object at a time where you now know even more about that object that makes it more useful. So it's like, so I'm thinking a guitar pedal, like say I got this guitar pedal that I wanted 2 weeks ago. Well, if I got it 2 weeks ago, I've watched things in the recent weeks that have made me understand that pedal better. So it's like, it's actually better for it to come to me 2 weeks later, because now I don't, like, I get to use it right then and there in a way that I wouldn't have had it not happen. So like, sometimes life interferes to your own benefit.
Yeah.
And I think that that's why sometimes when people watch manifestation videos and they try it, it doesn't work. It's like, it's like, yeah, it works, but also this thing is working alongside with it. So understand, if it doesn't come, it's because it's not because it's not coming. It's coming when you need it. And I think that becomes like, if I'm going to manifest it, I want it now. Like, if I want it now, I don't want to,
that's kind of the whole point, right?
With it. Yeah.
But we all know the universe doesn't work like that.
Not this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that video that I was mentioning to you earlier, it's called "Who You Imagine Imagines You."
So Lana Del Rey is thinking me right now. If I'm being literal, you expand on this a bit.
So we can watch this if you want. It is I think a little bit lengthy. It is maybe 16 minutes long. But he does bring up some cool points. He's basically paraphrasing this one author. His name is Neville Goddard.
Neville Longbottom.
Neville Longbottom. Yeah, that's the fella.
Yeah, I can roll it. I do the split screen. Get this fired up. So, it's clearly called that.
Who you imagine imagines you.
Who you imagine imagines you.
So, the reason why I bring up this video is because I had this conversation with my girlfriend that morning about the thought versus imagination, and I YouTubed it, and this was the one that came.
Okay.
The one top, yeah.
Daughter.
I titled today's...
Alright. Alright, the joys of technology here.
Yes. Hey, look, it's me.
Me too. Alright.
Is Neville Goddard conversation. Who you imagine imagines you. So let's reflect together upon this quote here, in which he says, "To cultivate the faculty of seeing the invisible, we should often deliberately disentangle our minds from the evidence of the senses and focus our attention on an invisible state, mentally feeling it and sensing it until it has all the distinctness of reality.
Good percent.
Now this is a...
Disentangle our minds, he says.
Yeah, because y'all fuckers love science, but it doesn't do you any good in some certain situations.
I've always heard the universe loves preciseness. The more precise you can be with whatever it is that you choose, especially if you're trying to manifest stuff, the better. So the more you know what you want, the more likely you're able to get exactly what you want.
Yeah, well, it's called the Astral Destiny Pedal. Still not here yet. I don't know how much more specific I need to be.
Yeah, I need this pedal, guys. Let's go.
I don't know about this. I think that almost not having the preciseness allows you to find a more fitting fit. Because could be, for example, with this whole pedal that I'm complaining about, I thought that there was a different pedal that I wanted. So I was looking into this pedal, I wanted this pedal, I wanted this pedal. And then I just kind of got fed up because everywhere I was looking for it was kind of out of my price range. So I left it. And then I just I was like, fuck, I did see that Astral Destiny pedal. Let me go check this. So then I Googled that, and as I was going through that, I was like, oh fuck, this does everything I wanted it to do. I just like the name purely. Like, I was like, Astral Destiny. I like astrology, destiny.
Pretty sick name.
Yeah. So... but I didn't think it was what I needed.
Yeah.
And so I go through, I was being precise. Like, I want this octave, I want an octave up, I don't want an octave down. I wanted to do this with my floods. Like, I knew precisely what I wanted, but it felt...
What's the kind of sound? Just curious.
Like, it's for, like, kind of doom metal-esque thing, but it's more the sound in my head, so I would say it sort of falls around the doom metal category. But
nice. I
was looking for this specifically because I thought that this would achieve what I wanted to achieve.
Yeah.
And technically it does, but it's like there's something even better that I could achieve that I didn't know that I could. And so I thought I knew, and so I was being precise, like octave up, not octave down. This company makes this, and going all through these pedals. And then when I found one that did exactly that, I just didn't have this feeling like I found it. It was like, all right, this does do everything I was thinking of. And I just left it. And then a couple hours later, it was just like, fuck it, I'm going to look at that Astral Destiny pedal. Then I realized that this Astral Destiny pedal does do the octave up thing, but then it has all these other modulations. So it's like, I thought I knew, and I was being as precise as possible, but my precision wasn't really aligned with what was astrally destined for me. Kind of poetic with the name, but there's that sort of bone I would pick with this when it says to be precise. Or did you say precise?
I said that, yeah.
Precise. So, because I could see it working both ways too, because it does depend on the individual. Like, say a person's very, like, I don't know, passive, and they let too many things happen in their life. Well, they would be called to be more precise, because it's like, no, you do have control of your life to a large degree. You can make your life better, so actually think of what better would mean, not just be like, oh, I wish my life was better. So I do agree with what you're saying.
Yeah. And
then I would say that it's like dependent upon the individual. Whereas me, I'm like super precise. Like, I want this purple, I don't want this gray. Like, I'm over precise. So it's like life would be teaching me to be like a little less precise.
Yeah.
Vice versa. And that would be healthy for me, but it wouldn't be healthy to the person who's just passive.
Now, you think the next stage is actually imagining you having that, without a doubt, believing that that is your reality?
Yes. And I think that so
the key is to have without a doubt. The moment you doubt that, the moment doesn't happen, right?
No, but see, this is the thing, because I've done things where I've just not doubted at all, and it's not come. And so what I've noticed is I have to feel into things. So it's like, I know what I want to come, but I have to really feel it. And so even though I want it, and I have no doubt that, like, yeah, I would fucking do that, I would make good use of that, it's like, I gotta feel it. And so when I start to feel into it, because that's alleviating all my thoughts, right? Like, all my thoughts say yes, yes, yes. Yeah. But then I feel my heart into it, and it's like, all right, that's not my bitch. That's not my one. And so I think
maybe that's the key.
That's at the end of the road.
So this video actually explains that is the key, and that's why I wanted you to show this.
To feel and not to think.
Yeah. The think gets you to the point. But
yes.
But the actual vibe and internal of how that affects you is the real. You literally have to become that.
Yeah.
And that's through thought into the actual being exactly that, which is the feeling, vibe that you already have achieved or have access to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's as simple as I can put it, but this guy here, he explains it in a way that can allow people to think about it a little differently. It might be actually easier if you think about it this way, because he uses the old famous word called love.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you gotta love it. Like, I loved the Astral Destiny pedal the first time I saw it. I didn't know what the fuck it was, but I get what you're saying.
It's a wonderful quote for many reasons, two of which are as follows. Number one, disentangling our minds from the evidence of the senses brings our attention to the formless self, I, awareness. By doing this, we completely ascend beyond any doubt. Doubt can be considered an adversary to accepting a desired state. I see doubt as revealing subconscious beliefs, which I is transcendent to anyways. So there's no concern, for you can dissolve those beliefs via inner conversation with them, as we discussed in Thursday's video. I'll put a link in the description to it.
Thanks, man.
Mm-hmm.
So this I transcends beliefs and personal identity. It has neither face, form, nor figure. It can, however, mold into structure by whatever we consciously choose to associate with it. This I in each of us is one with the I of all. Number two, from this I center, we imagine carrying on a conversation with someone we desire to speak with beyond doubt. This conversation is an accurate representation of an invisible, desirable state. And as we accept the self-suggestion by feeling its realness in imagination, it happens. For example, the other day, I got back from the gym and I was looking at an image. And right away I thought of a client.
Doesn't sound like
I thought feelingly of this client, which is to accept the suggestion. And this is someone who I did not speak with nor think of for around 3 months. So as I sat at my desk, an email pops up, and it was an email from her. She said, let's book a call, I'd like to discuss some items with you. So who imagined who? It appears from my experience that it happens at the same time. I verified this in many conversations I've had with others. Now this makes sense because we're taught that time is a construct of the mind. These occurrences seem to be increasing each day as I continue to work with this information. However, upon deeper introspection, I realized that it was always happening. You and I are no different in that we both share the same I, awareness. Now we are more conscious of what we are imagining and inner dialoguing about, and we can feel if it is purposeful or not. Light-hearted observation and feeling is the secret. You know what state you are in based on how you feel.
Feeling is the secret, man.
I also find that these kinds of who you imagine imagines you occurrences happen quite frequently if it is related to what I love.
So, pause this to give an anecdote here, because you'd said, did I imagine her first, or did she imagine me? So, because there's obviously scenarios where you're thinking of somebody, and then you run into them, you're like, dude, I was thinking of you, and they're like, that's too funny, I was thinking of you, right?
Yeah.
So in that case, you guys both imagine each other simultaneously, probably not verbatim, like you might have done it at 3 p.m. on Thursday, they did it at 5 p.m., but you both had the thought of each other, right?
Somewhere in the same time of
yes,
time frame.
some sort of, a couple days prior to the meet.
Yeah.
Now, here's an anecdote that it doesn't take away from this, but it adds to, because I always pick a bone when things get definitive. It's like, yes, you are right, but something else is also right. So I don't know why people can't speak with like an asterisk of like, so this is the normal traditional way that it happened, but this is another way in which it happens. Maybe he doesn't know that. Maybe for the sake of this video, it's simpler. I don't know. Because
he's quoting this specific author. That's why.
Longbottom.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I had this dream, and we both, Jordan Henry, our friend, shout out Jordan Henry. I had this dream where I was at Birchmount. I had some Colt 45s on me and in me, and he showed up to one of our 2 Each Tuesdays, and so he's hanging out, and then he pulls out his smokes, and he's smoking McDonald's specials, and so I started teasing him, like, dude, you smoking that shit? Like, get on the Viceroys, and I just started, like, grinding his gears, and so, anyways, I wake...
Right.
Yeah, seemed, like, fitting, and so I wake up, and I'm kind of giggling at this dream, like, that's funny, I'm teasing him for not smoking Viceroys. And I had to go get cigarettes that day, or had to go pick up tobacco. So I walked from my house down to Giant Tiger. And so here's the other thing of, like, you're talking about being prompted. It's like my dream about cigarettes, me teasing Jordan Henry. It's like I knew, like, that night when I went to bed, or that day whenever I went to bed, that when I woke up I would go get tobacco. So it's like no surprise there, right? That part of the dream involved tobacco. So I walked down to Giant Tiger from my house, get my tobacco.
Were you, like, lacking tobacco? Like, that's why you needed to get something, get none left?
No, I knew I had smokes in the morning, and then it's like, if I didn't go, I would not have smokes.
But it was really relevant in your mind, so that's why you were dreaming about it.
I mean, yeah, fairly, because just like I knew this was one of the things that I was going to do when I woke up. So
that happens sometimes to me, even before bed. Like, I'm watching a show that I'm really into, I'll actually dream about the show.
Yeah, right.
Like, somewhere is in between my sleeping.
And it makes dreams, like, a little less mysterious, because there's rhythm and, you know, sequence to it. It's like you watch that show, you dream about that character, or you dream about you even just watching the show, however it may be, it plays in. So it's like the brain's not completely erratic and, like, incomprehensible.
Yeah.
So wake up giggling about teasing him about the fucking Viceroys, go down, get said Viceroys. I'm walking back, and this car's driving towards me, and starts honking the horn. Who is it but Jordan Henry? And I was like, dude, this is too funny. Because he's like, hey, what's going on? Like, I was just getting some smoke. It's almost like I damn well knew I was going to see him. Like, I was just giggling, because he didn't know that I had this dream about him.
Yeah.
You know, but... So he's like, you know, what are you doing, blah, blah, you want to drive? I was like, sure. So he gave me a drive back to my place, and on the drive back to my place, we had to pass Birchmount School. So it was like, and I was, of course, telling him about this dream. I was like, it's too funny, last night I had this dream about you, you know, like, you came with these McDonald's cigarettes, and I was like teasing you weren't smoking Viceroy, so he's giggling, whatever, and then, you know, of course, we drive by Birchmount School, he drops me off, blah, blah, blah. But I bring this up to say, this is also supporting what he says, but in this instance, Jordan Henry didn't have a dream about me, he didn't think about me, he didn't, and I think if he had had a dream where I was in it, he would have mentioned it.
Yeah.
Perhaps he had, like, I don't know, a day or two before saw me on his social media feed or something, and it wasn't too much of a conscious thing. So
we have seen him at the gym, me and you. Like, we worked out next to him, so he could have been somewheres.
This was years before that.
Oh, this is years ago?
Yeah, this is, I don't know, 2018, 2019 maybe, something like that.
I thought it was something recent. Okay.
No, but still to the, like, because it's not out of the, like, sphere of possibility that we would run into a person we know. Like, that's not, you know, it's not like, whoa.
I've been going to the gym with him, actually, every so often. Last, like, few weeks.
Like, go with him or just meet him there?
Go with him.
Actually go with him?
Yeah.
Cool. I'm glad he's at it, yeah.
He's doing well, he's trying to get in shape.
Yeah, because last time we saw him, it's like a big, happy for him.
Yeah.
So he's talking about, like, he's like, my legs always hurt, and then I realized I just lost some weight, my legs stopped hurting. It's like, fucking hey, they're like, sometimes it don't need to be complicated.
No, it's just lose
like
weight, everything starts to feel better.
Yeah, so anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because it can occur that they don't think about you. But then I kind of asked Strixie myself, because perhaps he saw, like, say, just, I popped up his feed, right? But he didn't really...
It could have been something as simple as that, eh?
Yeah, and so in a way it's like, his reality was trying to, like, tell him, like, yo, you're going to run into Caleb. But if you're not if you don't really know about concepts like this and understand them, you're less likely to be.
Well, then that's just it. Like, to what degree do you have to think about someone for them to show up? Sometimes it's just like, this person came to my mind for a moment, and then I forgot about them, and the next thing I know, they're here.
Yeah, but see, because you like pay attention to your mind, when you see them, you're like, that's too funny. Like, I just had this
thought about it,
thought pop in my head. So I think, it's useful for everybody in the world to read or hear about something like this, because then
I agree.
Gives framework for when it does happen.
For me specifically, if I consciously think about someone, that doesn't create them coming.
No.
It has to kind of like happen all of a sudden. Has to be like, this person just came to my brain for no fucking reason at all.
Exactly, right?
And the next thing I know, they appear somewhere. Whether they message me, or they show up, or I run into them, or whatever it may be. But that's usually how it happens for me.
Yeah, it has to be unprompted or not.
It's like you're tapping into this like ethereal like connection to everything. Because what do you call it? The collective unconscious, whatever you want to call it.
This pokes a hole in the whole magic theory, right? Of like controlling coincidence. It's like you kind of just said, like, if you try to control coincidence, it doesn't tend to happen.
So maybe it's not, those are not the right words, even though that I was just using those words to kind of like,
because I'm not putting you on the chopping block. I'm putting whoever said that on the chopping block, because that has been said.
But maybe it's just becoming aware of what's already there.
Yeah, and you have to be passive to it, right? Like, you have to let it just come through you. You can't be like, astral destiny, astral.
Maybe that's what fate is this inner workings of everything that's happening all the time, and whether you're aware of it or not, it's still happening.
Yeah, like the highest form of balance.
Like the inner webbing of the, you know what I mean, right?
Well, because it's almost like you have to be exactly as passive as you are proactive, or like to be able to be both is where you actually see the magic. Because like we had just said, say you had said, okay, be precise, and I'm like, that is a good thing for somebody who is super passive, right? Like, we all begin as kind of single aspects, and then we go to the opposite of that aspect. And so we build ourselves by understanding ourselves deeper and understanding the opposite of our actions and what we want to have in our lives and what we don't want to have in our lives, blah, 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 blah. But somebody who's just passive, they're not really processing all these multitudes of things. It's just like, they're just like, well, that's the way it is. They have some sort of belief where they kind of are powerless to their situation.
Yeah.
So then in this context, it's like that person needs to start taking charge. And by taking charge, it's like, well, you're being proactive. You're saying, I want this, not that. I don't want this, I want that, blah, blah, whatever iteration. So in their case, they're just starting from the ground, almost like a triangle, right? Because if they're just passive, they're here. And so to make their life better, they need to be proactive, right? But this flip can happen too. If you're too proactive, it's like you're missing all the like magical shit of life, because when you're passive, it can kind of come to you. But if you're just purely passive, it's not going to come to you in that articulated way. So when you're passive, you go to be proactive, and so you can't be just fully proactive. That'll tip the scales. So it's like the triangle is really just the middle point between passive and proactive, or whatever attribute you have that is causing you dismay and you work away from. You can't just fully be the opposite to bring balance into your life. You have to go be the opposite to know the opposite. Once you've gone from A to B, then you know that the line C in the middle is kind of your magic point. And
that's what a lot of the mystery schools talk about, is that specific magic point is where the magician apparently has the control of either accepting or rejecting whatever may come his way.
Yes.
So I think what channels that is your awareness of.
See, but I don't like the rejecting part of that, because...
Well, rejecting can mean just like you don't accept whatever is coming at your way. Whether it happens to you or not.
No, I know, literally. Yeah, because you kind of just described literally what rejection is. Because, say, I think in this line of thought, we both agree, rejecting, say it's like a stressful thought. So it's like when you see yourself, like, you know, if I start like thinking about that person, like I'm gonna get wound up. So I'm gonna reject thinking about that person to maintain my balance, right?
Yeah.
So
you can also use the word deflect.
Deflect, reject, but I'm just using this to paint that. I don't think that rejection is good, because whatever it is about, we'll keep on this same example, that person that you don't want to think about, that you're pushing away to maintain your peace, there's some connection between you and them that is a reflection of you, that you're actually pushing that aspect of yourself away from yourself. You're trying to say, no, I'm not. Like, if you don't like a person because they're fucking annoying, it's like, well, because you are annoying in that same way in some sort of version, you know, your own expression of it. But
is your reaction to what's happening to that triggering that response in you?
Yeah. My friend says something I think you probably heard on the internet, but offense is taken, not given.
Yeah.
So it's like when that person is offending you, it's not that that person's offending you. It's like you're being offended. Like, that's you. That's happening inside of you, because of what you think that they are. And it's like, you probably think that if you were that way, you would be like, you would never be that way. Like, I couldn't be that way. But it's like, the high mind knows that we are every which way humanly possible. You know, like, I am just, as much a junkie as a junkie is. Though I don't do that, it's like, that's not impossible for me to achieve, say I wanted to. So I guess that's gets even to the bigger, like, forgiveness and acceptance of the individuals. Blew that up. But I think it does do merit, because if the concept of the magician is being able to reject or accept, it's like, I think the actual magician just accepts everything. He doesn't indulge things that are...
I wasn't saying that in the way of, like, that's what I do. I was saying that in the sense that that's what they teach.
You're not on the chopping block.
As far as, like, the polarities go. And a lot of, in magic, they talk about how to move the polarities. But the thing is, I don't think it's so black and white. I think there's a lot of variance in between those two things.
Well, to me, it's just the balance point between both. It's like, if you're passive, you need to learn to be proactive. If you're really proactive, you need to learn to be a little bit passive. Yeah. But it's like...
I think it's learning how to flow between the two. You know what I mean?
You should be a master of both, or at least capable of both. I mean, there's not much to master, I guess. I'd say it's easier to master passivity, because you just...
I think it's better. I think it's better to, like, become wise enough to know when to make the right decisions based on what's happening to you.
Yes, and I think that that's what you were basically saying with the rejection acceptance, is like, to know, Cool. Continue on?
Yeah, let's see. I'm liking where this is going. Mm-hmm. We're going on tangents, and we're pausing, and we're starting, and we're talking about it. I think this is a good way to go through
a podcast.
To do a podcast. You know, we're reflecting, and we're still staying within the same parameters of our initial topic.
And focus.
So let's go back to disentangling our minds from the evidence of the senses, and let's acknowledge the formless self, I. There is a benefit to doing this regularly on its own. As one dedicates themselves to this contemplation of their awareness or beingness, they experience a deep feeling of connectedness with all, bringing us to a realization that this I in each of us is the same I in all. As I've been acknowledging this I more so over the years, I notice that when I'm out and about, people seem to smile at me more often. And in big cities, where I once considered others to be quite reserved, people seem to start conversations with me more often. I believe that this is because it is the one I, and all reflects the beliefs, and remember, a state is a body of beliefs we fuse with inside. It seems that by contemplating this I, beliefs regarding doubt-based separation with others seem to dissolve. And so this would explain these experiences playing out. This is also perhaps why many who are involved with meditation and self-contemplation practices seem to feel deep compassion and empathy for others as they reveal this I. As he says here,
Clearly what we're talking about.
your
Clearly
beliefs,
checking a
your fixed
person's
attitudes of mind
thinking about person.
constantly modify your consciousness as it is reflected on the mirror of your mind. Your consciousness, modified by your beliefs, objectifies itself in the conditions of your world. To change your world, you must first change your conception of it. So the world works how you believe it does. And if we change our beliefs of how the world works, we shall notice the changes.
This does get
And you can do this
way more pronounced as you get older. You find, like, the people you know, it's like, man, you are just a victim of your beliefs. And it's like, try and change them.
It makes you want to slap some people, you know what I mean? Like, wake the fuck up, man.
Yeah, you're doing this. It's not them, it's not that, it's not this, it's fucking you.
by imagining what is ideal and accepting that suggestion as reality beyond any potential doubt. It is also important to have loving...
Where you're saying constantly modify your consciousness.
Yes.
So it's so, like, we may speak, like, you know, spiritual stuff, and it's like, yeah, like, we both gravitate towards that, and it is good and helpful, you know, it expands your mind. But there's also the flaw with spiritual communities where they get too stagnant in the beliefs. It's like, no, like, you have to be compassionate. It's like, no, you're also allowed to, like, hate things that you don't like. Like, you have to recognize them, that they are a part of you, and, like, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, if you can't constantly modify, then you'll never be able to really grasp anything. You can't really just stand for something all the time.
I agree. It's like empathy. What was the word you used there a second ago?
To modify your beliefs.
Like the spiritual, like, gratitude. You said gratitude, was it?
Say compassionate.
Compassionate.
Yeah.
So there's a difference between, like, if you're not being compassionate, then you don't, like, whoop yourself in the back with, like, a fucking whip.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
where do you draw the line? You know what I mean? It's like,
because I think the ideals is that we are all compassionate constantly, and
yeah,
that's the ideal, but there's a lot of us that don't even know that that's something that we should do. Like, always recognize your brother as your brother and treat him as such. So in the world further than the world that we live in right now, we will be all like that, and in a way we'll stand for the beliefs. But currently, you have to be able to, like, stand for them as much as you can let go of them, because sometimes you get to let go of them just
I think that is the perfect definition of having an open mind, is to be able to
modify your consciousness.
Modify your consciousness is a good way of putting it. I think Leonardo da Vinci had a good quote too. Is the sign of a wise person?
Yeah.
Is the ability to entertain thoughts that you do not agree with.
Yes.
Something like that. It is to be able to, like, allow yourself to think about things that you might think is wrong or incorrect or you don't agree with.
Mm-hmm.
Just because something you don't agree with doesn't mean it's the right or wrong thing, right? So having the ability to reflect and contemplate on those things is the mark of someone who's wise.
Yeah, because your initial reaction to something that is perhaps the opposite of what you believe, it's kind of like maybe you're repulsed, but it's like, if you look at your initial reaction, there's a well of learning to do right there. It's like, why was I repulsed by that? That's a whole question that you can learn.
Yeah.
And then also just considering
yourself, too.
the other option may sometimes present things that you didn't consider about your own option. So that's good. And also, Leonardo da Vinci was really good in The Great Gatsby. I liked his work in Shutter Island too. I'm just saying. Anyways.
I think we're talking about someone different, man.
Nope. There's but one Leonardo.
Beliefs when relating with others, such as, others imagine lovingly of me as I imagine lovingly of them. This plays out as loving relationships in various forms. And we also find it is easier to accept our suggestions related to
pause this for a second, because imagine others like thinking lovingly of you as you lovingly of them.
Yeah.
So my grandma passed earlier this year, and every time I've seen an elderly lady since, I've just smiled and glowed in a way where like they smile and glow, and we just wind up having a conversation or something, and I feel like it's
tighter than that.
Yeah.
Which it's so meta, because you're now thinking about how someone is thinking about you. So if your reality is based on what you think the world is, therefore, if you want someone to think about you in the way you want to be thought about, you have to think about them thinking about you in the way you want, in the way that you want them to think about you.
And also think about them in that way too, right? Like,
well, that's what ties it all together, right?
You put it out to have it come back in.
Then that's the perfect magic circle in an ethereal realm.
So I got some... right? Yeah, no, amen to that. I have no fucking anything else. You just put it perfect. I saw this post. I won't target this person, but they do post a lot of garbage where I'm like reading this shit and like, fuck, like you seem smarter than that. Why you got this dumbass thing? That's whatever. But the dumbass thing they had posted was something along the lines of, you can't control how others perceive you, so you might as well just be who you were going to be anyways. And I was like, I get that if you only know so much, that seems like, a liberating statement. But I was like, there's a field beyond this, because you can change how people perceive you. Like, say you're somewhere and you feel that somebody thought less of you, like, you can do literally what we just said of like, you think more of them, then they will think more of you. Like, the statement was kind of like a victimish, like defeatist statement, like, well, everybody's just gonna think I'm a fucking idiot, so like I might as well just be an idiot anyways. Like, no, you don't have to be. And like, whatever it is that you think you are, people can think that of you too, as long as you're willing to think that that's possible of them and perceive them as like, say you want to be considered intelligent. Well, you can't go around thinking that everybody else is dumb, because they'll either think you're like a pretentious prick, or they'll think you're dumb and you don't notice. So it's like, if you want to be perceived as intelligent, you have to also look for the intelligence in others. And it's like, that kind of nurtures and feeds. So you do kind of have some control of how you're perceived, but it's in being able to give to them what you would like to give to yourself.
I think that there's some truth in that, but as far as intelligence goes, I think you don't sought after to be intelligent, you just are that.
Just using that as an example, but
yeah.
Say like we have a friend who's pretty intelligent, but I think when people meet them, they're not maybe thinking the same as we've noticed. And so, I obviously am not like saying names because that would be rude, but that is kind of an odd conundrum. If we're just focusing purely on intelligence, you can insert any attribute here, and the same is true of what we're saying. Like,
shout out to Mystic Moons for some bomb-ass lemon balm. Bomb.
So what do you do in this situation where, say, I feel like we know that person is intelligent because we have an understanding of what intelligence yields in the individual.
Yeah.
And so we recognize it in him. And you could say, because we recognize it in ourselves, we're able to recognize it in others, right?
Yeah.
So we can recognize it in them because we recognize it in us. But I guess I'm already answering my question. Other people don't recognize it in that person because they don't recognize it in themselves. So they just fulfill the prophecy of unrecognition.
Well, no, I understand what you're getting at. I think that there's a lot of truth in that. So do you think it swings the other way? What if a person's actually intelligent?
Yeah.
But because they think they're intelligent, whether they put off themselves as pretentious, does that diminish their intelligence?
It does, yeah, because they're
They're
unable to be aware.
Yeah.
And awareness to me is one of the like cornerstones of intelligence.
I think we've both battled with that sometimes, because we both know that, like, I think I'm able to get around. I would never say I'm intelligent or anything like that. I don't think that's a thing that I would want to say about myself, but I've been told that by other people that are intelligent.
Well, it's not wrong, and I don't, because obviously there's this situation that will occur is like, you can't just go tell somebody you're intelligent. Like that literally like makes you unintelligent, because that scenario will not yield like, hey man, I'm intelligent. What do you expect to have in that situation? Somebody's like, oh man, you are so intelligent.
I'm smarter than you think, or something like that. You know what I mean?
Like, okay, fucking prove it, asshole. Like, and even if you do prove it, you were a shitheel. Like, you didn't have the social intelligence to know that that's not the fucking thing to say.
It's like you're mid argument. I'm smart, man. I'm smart. Well, be smart then.
Then that's not
smart. Explain your points. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
We're getting off topic here. Do you want to continue this?
Yeah, but I think that thing's summed up in the, like, if you don't recognize it in yourself, it won't be recognized by others.
Agreed.
Like that.
Agreed.
I imagines me.
Pause 1 second.
So as we...
I think I remember hearing a quote about that one time too. It doesn't necessarily mean for intelligence. It can mean for anything.
Yeah.
This is actually a really cool quote. It's, you cannot access in another what you have not accessed within yourself.
Yeah.
So that can apply to a lot of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Same with the concept of what I was talking about earlier about how when you imagine someone, it doesn't have to be someone. It could be anything. Yeah, I mean, you can take that same pattern of how you think about someone thinking about you and how that feels.
Yeah.
To other things, you can take that same module or pattern, or however you want to describe what that is, the same template of how to do that.
Yeah.
And apply it to other things.
Yeah.
The same philosophy towards it.
Yeah. I'm a little lost here now. You are imagining something.
Well, it was the whole concept I was talking about earlier. It's like when you imagine someone, you imagine them thinking about you and how that feels.
Yeah.
Remember we were talking about that earlier?
Yes, yeah.
I was just saying the mechanism or the philosophy behind how that works, you can apply that to other things.
Sorry.
Is that the wife?
That's the mother, Elton John.
Whoa.
At 11:11.
Whoa!
Love you, Mama. I'll text you in a bit.
11:11.
Yeah.
She's calling at the right time, apparently.
As a bitch would. Alright.
Let's continue this.
We acknowledge the desirable experiences that play out in regards to who you imagines you by logging or journaling them. They seem to increase. And so I'm referring to the consciously intended ones here. I find this way of being to be also very helpful in business. For example, to know that people will show up ready to receive the services, and they always do, because they imagine the service, and you imagine providing the service. You have a lavish, steady, dependable income consistent with integrity and mutual benefit. I can also assure you, as you encourage this idea, fears, doubts, and indecision in marketing, selling, and innovation will dissolve as well. So when it comes to imagining others lovingly, I find it is happening at the exact same time. They are also imagining us lovingly. I believe that how we imagine others in general plays an important role in working with disability. So we mentioned the I in you and the I in others is actually the same I. And to acknowledge this, one feels a deep love and compassion for others and themselves. Giving and receiving is one. Regular contemplation of this can be very helpful. What has also been very helpful is to imagine others lovingly wherever I am, in public, in conversation, or when someone pops up in my mind. For every word shall not return to us void, as it is the same I. For really, what we imagine upon others is also being imagined upon ourselves. All are interconnected in the one mind. So imagine with me for a moment, always walking through life, knowing that who you imagine imagines you, who you desire desires you, who you love loves you. It's a feeling of perpetual completion. You never feel alone because you have everything inside which this outer world reflects in ways that will often pleasantly surprise you. This to me is a verbal representation of the who you imagine imagines you state. And so he says, the question is often asked, what should be done between the assumption of the wish fulfilled and its realization? Nothing. It is a delusion that other than assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you can do anything to aid the realization of your desire. Everything happens automatically. All that befalls you, all that is done by you, happens. So all the roles are played by a power higher than the identity. The identity is the state we assume in imagination. So he says, if you hear something that is unlovely, don't accept it, but instantly revise it. Hear the words that ought to have been spoken, and persuade yourself to the best of your ability that it is so. So as mentioned, we can do this instantaneously, as he says here, but instantly revise it. Or we can do it prior to going to sleep or in combination, whatever you'd like. Before going to sleep is helpful because at this time the conscious mind is more at ease. While we're in a theta state, which he refers to as state akin to sleep, where the subconscious is more receptive. He says, now here's how we do it. At the end of the day, I review my day. I don't judge it. I simply review it. I look over the entire day, all the episodes, all the events, all the conversations, all the meetings, and then I see it clearly in my mind's eye. I rewrite it. I rewrite it and make it conform to the ideal day I wish I had experienced. I take scene after scene.
I hate when they fucking do this. He says, I review it. I don't judge it. Okay, you can do that. I rewrite it to make it conform to the ideal day. The only way to get an ideal is through judging it.
Yeah.
Scene and rewrite it, revise it. And having revised my day, then in my imagination I relive that day, the revised day, and I do it over and over in my imagination until the seeming imagined state begins to take on to me the tones of reality. It seems that it's real, that I actually did experience it, and I have found from experiences that these revised days, if really lived, will change my tomorrows. When I meet people tomorrow that today disappointed me, they will not tomorrow, for in me I have changed the very nature of that being. And having changed him, he bears witness tomorrow of the change that took place within me. So as the mind becomes lighter with revision, it feels easier to do this during the day and accept the suggestion, as there is little or no overthinking and mental chatter during the day. You can.
So go back to what you were saying there a second ago. Just to be a little nitpicky, so he said don't judge it, but then rewrite it.
Yeah.
So to be able to rewrite it, you would need to use a judgmental eye to be able to rewrite it.
Yeah, because you're taking the thing that you wished would have gone another way and then making it go the way you wished it would have, but that whole wish is based on the judgment that the way it went was not as good as it could have gone. Yeah. Which is fine. Like, this is where the mastery and the magic.
So there's three things that can happen in the judgmental eye. I'll call it that.
Okay.
It's either you change it because you didn't like what happened.
Yeah.
You accept it.
Yeah.
Or third one is you actually like what happened. So there's no changing at all.
Fair. Yeah.
Right. So
yeah. Yeah.
Those are the only options you have, right?
Yeah. It's really just the two options. You liked it, you don't bother. But yes, it is the third.
But that is like the thing that you're doing probably whatever percentage of the time. That's why I put it as a third.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I've often found that things come in threes, and usually two are the same, and then one is like one and one are opposite. Because if you're changing it to how you wished it would have gone, you're doing that. But if it went how you wished it would have gone, you need to change to how you wish it would have gone. Yeah, they're two the same things.
I see what you're getting at. That's a really cool point.
Then the other one is the opposite of rejecting it.
This is good.
Right.
And also acknowledge the ability that you do this real time in the presence of people. You'll be aware of how you feel, and you can acknowledge without reacting if your state is changing. You'll then be able to suggest to yourself, or feel yourself back, or think feelingly into your ideal state of mind as you notice others and yourself further encouraging your ideal state of mind. And so from reaping the benefits of practicing this every day, I encourage you to also do this wherever you go, and you'll find that it is extremely well worth it. So I trust you found this video to be helpful. Let's go ahead and conclude this with an auto-suggestion to further encourage. I am my ideal now. From the premise of this love, others show up to reflect the love in me. From this recognition of the completion within of I, which is one with the I of all, I realize that who I imagine imagines me. I find it easier to accept my self-suggestions, as there is no power outside greater than imagination. For who I imagine imagines me into life experiences. I imagine others lovingly as others return to sender my loving thoughts. If you would like a copy of this mind map, the link is in the description. Thank you very much for watching. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.
The map.
So yeah, this guy's YouTube channel, by the way, guys, it's what is it, Joseph Rodriguez? Joseph Rodriguez, yeah.
Maybe
check him out. He's got some cool stuff.
Is it Joseph? Yosef?
Could be Yosef.
So he touches on something that I think will be the grand future. We all get things right. Because you think of him like he's imagining, basically, we'll just keep it simple, like love. He loves this person, so when he meets that person, they love him, and it's like, that's perfect, right? That's creating a mutually beneficial
I like how he uses the word completion. Because it creates a loop back to itself.
Yes. Okay. So the more and more of us that do this, the more and more love becomes abundant. And there's plenty of us doing this already. Like, whether we do it fully consciously or not, it's just like, what you could lump in as compassion, general compassion. So I foresee, I wish it was tomorrow, but it will be further on than this, that the more and more of us that choose to be, like just love the brother, whatever, it will then just produce this sort of, not heaven, but it increases the peace, right? Mm-hmm. And as it takes on globally, we'll then consciously imagine scenarios that benefit us all. So I'm going to go like on a tangent here, but still rooted in this. I've heard concept of like one world government, one world currency. And so I think that concept is usually like, that's too much control for one person to have. That's too much, there's a lot of red flags that immediately occur in a person's mind when they hear these concepts. But if you think of it more in this format and think of it as like a one world government in terms of unity, rather than right now when we hear government, typically we associate control, and typically it's not to our benefit. So it's absolutely right for people to say like, I don't want a one world government. In this day and age, like, no, I wouldn't want it either. But if we get to a day and age where we all act this harmoniously with each other, it will be just natural that we would have this. It wouldn't necessarily be one world, but it'd be like whatever the government structure, wherever you are, it shares the same principles of unity. like good healthcare, good school system, yada yada yada. And so we wouldn't need to have as many divergences, right? Because if you look at, say, Denmark right now and think of how they're doing with their social structures of just like school is paid for, if you need to take mat leave is paid for, you have like whatever their mat leave is more than our mat leave. So it's like they're doing a lot of good things that would be like, we should just all do that, like let's all become Denmark. And I don't think many people would be opposed to that idea, but if you were to word it like, let's become a one world government, people would be like, fuck. But it's like, if we just took all the good things that occur in all the other places and combine them into one, we wouldn't need to have anything else, because we have the best sort of thing. So that's just me riffing on the future. And that,
I really hope we get to that point, but I think before that there will be more holy wars.
Yeah, we kind of need to learn the flaws of our ways before we can fix them, right?
Yeah.
So
I think that's at the essence. I think we can get through everything else.
Yeah.
Like all the materialistic stuff, all that stuff. I think that's actually the easy part. I think the holy wars are the hardest part, and we're already losing. Like religion is already a losing battle on all sides.
Yeah, because I think it's because they want it one, right? Like, right now we need to
they're
stress...
resolving a lot of things.
Well, we need to stress the individual, right?
How many branches of Christianity are there?
I get what you're saying, but I'm saying that, like, within Christianity, just as in within Buddha, within Islam, within any of... Those are the ones I can think of. Obviously, there's more Rastafarian, Gnostics, blah, blah.
Yeah.
There's always a good piece in all of them. Right? They're not just purely negative.
No.
So the obvious best thing is the amalgamation of all the good pieces and the, leaving aside all the bad pieces. But right now with what you're saying, like holy war, it's because they want to say, no, Christianity is the way, or no, like whatever is the way.
Yeah.
I don't really know that. I feel like it's so much a holy war right now. I feel if I was going to attune to the current climate, I would say the war is more on social justice, of like, we want equal rights, we want fair pay for everybody, we don't want to have anybody suffering in poverty or neglected.
Yeah.
So to me, I would say we're more in a social justice war right now than a holy war. I think the holy war was kind of the war of our predecessors, and we saw that, and that's why we don't have as strong affinity towards religion as our parents or our grandparents did, right?
I see where you're getting at with that, but what I meant when I said that is after this whole like social thing that's happening right now, I think that's the last thing that we'll have to figure out is the holy wars.
Oh, okay, I agree with you
completely. Before we get to like a unified government type of thing, I think that's the thing that's gonna be the hardest hurdle to get over. That's kind of what I meant by that. Because
you're kind of saying once we have ideal happens, social structures form, and it's like, all right, everybody has. I was like the universal income thing. Everybody has universal income.
Yes.
Housing's taken care of. Education's starting to go up. I agree with what you're saying, because it's like the spiritual stuff then has to be, because that's the next step after the material is balanced, right?
Yeah.
And so we might not have that much of a holy war, because already right now we're sowing the seeds of this, because our generation is not, like I said, it's not particular, like you think of your grandma, my grandma, like they were Catholic or Baptist, like they were rooted in that, right? Our generation, like my dad's a minister, none of our age goes to fucking church. They don't see it as the source of anything
select
good.
Few now, so
yeah, of course.
Is that a good or bad thing?
It's good, because that's exactly what needed to happen because of what the church was being perceived as and also trying to do. So what we're doing now is we're kind of abandoning religion, but by abandoning it, we're forming this whole like new age spiritual world.
Yeah.
Yes, that did exist previous, but the spiritual world doesn't have to have, and ironically it does have this unity like the church says. It's like, oh, well, I'm Baptist, I can't hang out with the Catholics. Yeah. It does have that, but it's more encompassing. So it's not dictated by regions or by like a head specifically, and it's not like you have to go to church, you have to do this. There are some people in the spiritual community that behave that way, but I think that what they're doing is they're kind of melding science and spirit, just like spirit science, obviously, where we'll have the concepts to understand the spiritual side, and by the time we get there that we need those concepts, they will be so unassociated with any religion or like field of work that they won't be like, oh,
it could go in a lot of different ways. It could even be that religions start to intersect.
They already intersect. How do you mean? Sorry,
like even more than what they are now. Like I've had this conversation with someone before. It's like, what do you mean by spirituality? You can still be a Christian or a Catholic and still be spiritual because they do believe in the Holy Spirit.
Like, do you see a revivalism of Baptists after we've done all the social reforms?
No, I think it's probably going to get dissolved. I think a lot of those... This is why I mentioned all the different sects of Christianity. Is I think they'll all slowly dissolve into, like...
What will be left is the core of
Christianity, right?
Okay.
And then, however that intersects into, like, Muslim... or Buddhist, or Zen or Taoism or whatever it is, like that. I feel like that they all go into that one thing of trying to be the best version of yourself.
Yeah, so I agree then, because I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'll just be at the end of it, what's left is all the good stuff from the ones previous.
That's how I hopefully see it going. It could not go that way.
Yeah, but this is where it's like, you gotta believe what you want to achieve. Yes? No?
This guy doing a loop on what we just saw. So how I want people to perceive that in my mind.
Like, I have no doubt that will happen. And I have no doubt that will happen because I feel that I see things that support me not having doubt. But also, if I didn't see the things that didn't support me not having doubt, I would still force myself to believe that because it's more beneficial for me to believe that will occur than it is to be like, well, I hope it happens. It's like,
and I'm sure you've noticed this too, like even with the whole age of social media, that astrology is actually coming back with a vengeance. People are more and more into this type of Vedic systems and things like that when it comes to astrology and ancient stuff. There's something happening.
Yeah, because I've been here since day one, motherfucker. And Shadow apparently forgive me this, but I do agree, because in astrology, obviously, there's a lot of stuff that I've found that helped me, and I've told you about such things. That just goes to the same thing. It's like, those are the signs I'm talking about. It's like, all right, people are into astrology, whereas when I get into astrology, it's like, I never knew anybody else who knew about it. And so that to me is an indication that it's like, I don't even have to hope that it's going to happen like that. It's like, the signs are already here. Yeah. The internet, knowledge is free. We can find it. We can, there's lots of, more than just white bitches being into astrology. There's other things that...
How much time do we have left?
We're I think we're cresting the end here. We got about an hour in. 1:18.
1:18.
Yeah.
Okay, just one more thing I kind of want to touch on.
Okay.
It has nothing to do with thought imagination, I don't think, but it could tie into that.
Yeah.
I watched a video not too long ago, and this guy was explaining that there's a secret oil that is excreted from our hypothalamus, which goes down our spine.
You're gonna have to explain to me what what's that word you just used?
It's a part of our brain.
Hypothalamus?
Yes.
Hypothalamus? What's the difference between a hippo and a zippo? One is heavy, one is a little
once
lighter.
a month, when the moon is in the sun sign, we are born under.
Yeah.
This fluid travels down our spinal cord from our colostrum into our sacrum. This secretion, this is a sacred secretion, and in Greek, the fluid is called Christos, or Christ. You see the secret word comes from the word secretion, which the secret comes from. See this claustrum also be known as the synaclaustrum. Because the fluid travels down the sacred plexus, and that is where the story of Santa Claus going down the chimney comes.
Because it's your moon juice coming down your vertebrae.
And your vertebrae.
Okay.
Your moon juice.
Because I think I saw you maybe post something about this.
I did, on my Instagram.
So have you been like paying attention to when your moon's in Taurus, right?
My moon is... No, it's when the sun sign...
You sure?
Yes, it's when your sun sign is in the phase of the moon. So every month your sun sign will go through the phases of the moon.
Sun sign, I think you mean the moon, because your sun sign is fixed on the same sign for the entirety of the month. Or like a 1 month period.
No, yes.
So like right now we're
No. This is what I mean. The moon is constantly traveling and going through all the astrology. So when the moon is in your sun sign.
In your sun sign.
So when your moon, so Capricorn, when the moon's in Capricorn, these 2 days that's in Capricorn, this secretion, this fluid travels down from your claustrum, down your spine, and after those 2 days it rises back up.
Okay.
And the only way it does that,
you're
going to love this, is from abstinence.
The drink?
No, from not excreting the sacred juice from our loins.
Yes, that thing. Well, I guess I will never know.
But there's a whole really cool way he explains it, how this all ties in with Santa Claus and Jesus and the Christos fluid, and how all this there's a numerology aspect to it. Like there's 33 vertebrae in the human body.
Okay.
And then the 34th is actually your tailbone.
Yeah.
So it explains how this is supposed to awaken your mind.
So my obvious question for you is, have you been paying attention?
So I did this month.
Yeah.
With me and Kaylin, actually.
Yeah.
So just for the fact of the matter is that since I'm a Scorpio and she is a Sagittarius, we both did it. So it ended up being 4 days because Scorpio
consecutive.
Exactly. So it'd be 4 consecutive days. So we actually made sure we didn't have any sex in those days. And funny enough, I had a headache on the second day, and so did she. We both had headaches. Like migraine headaches. For some weird reason, we have no fucking clue why.
Because you didn't bust a nut. I know why. I'm teasing, but that's interesting. So
it was very, very interesting. And
basically what you just promoted is a good way to get a headache. I'm teasing, but so far I'm interested to see what you experienced the next.
It was an interesting experiment. I think it takes more than 1 month.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Your second time.
Like a year or something like that, or
yeah,
who knows? But we're gonna try it out. You know what I mean? It's 4 days in 1 month. That's not too hard to not come for 2 days.
Barking up the wrong tree.
I mean,
it's not. No, it's not.
At this point, I'm a fucking Olympian at it because I went almost a year and a half, or a year and a few months without any masturbation at all. I only had sex 3 times that year.
Yeah.
But that's the ultimate challenge, the whole no-fab thing. That's a different topic altogether.
Yeah, because we've had the diverse experience of that with our other friend who didn't go.
I think one thing that you have to do that helped me is what happens is this energy can get stagnant. You know what I mean? Like if it can build up, and if you don't know how to release it, it will drive you fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Your nuts get fucking nuts.
Well, because part of me why I stay regular with it is because I feel in my brain I just don't think right. It just is like sort of like a useless presence where it's like, all right, I'm gonna flush him out because he's not do much that's I deem useful, so I flush him.
I get that, man. I think it might be beneficial for you because you might actually have a higher testosterone level to begin with. So by allowing yourself to have that relaxation, that drainage, it allows you to not have to worry about finding whatever that may be. Like usually that's like that energy. If when you build it up, that's what allows you to go out and get that release, get that girl, or whatever it may be. You know what I mean? So by doing that on a consistent basis, you don't need to go out and do that.
It's kind of maybe then more specific to the individual.
You might even say that like abstaining can make you more primal. It can work for some things and not for other things. It'd be great for like someone that needs to be primal for like a boxing fight. But it could be horrible for someone like us that need to use our brains and not
contemplate.
Yeah, exactly.
Because there's been times where I've framed it this way in my brain. It's the only piece of paradise I'll have that day.
So there is studies that I think after 6 or 7 days, your testosterone can increase by 200%.
Yeah.
But after those days, it'll drop back down somewhere to normal. So, in that sense, it shows you that a man's hormonal cycle is not only a 24-hour cycle, it's actually a 7-day cycle.
You'll get over that 1 week hump.
Yeah.
And then you'll be fine.
Because,
or more regular.
The way that they teach a men's hormone cycle is a 24-hour cycle, right?
I've never been taught the man's hormone cycle, so...
Just real quick, the female hormone cycle is a monthly thing. That's why they go through the period. Monthly cycle. A male's hormone cycle is a 24-hour cycle. So you wake up in the morning, you have a spike of cortisol and testosterone. That's why you get morning wood, whatever it may be, and then it dissipates throughout the whole day, and your cortisol goes down. Everything starts to relax. That's why before bed you're not normally that horny because you're starting to wind down. That's why you're horniest in the morning because you have that spike of testosterone and cortisol, and especially if you get vitamin D in your eyes.
Yeah.
As soon as you can upon waking.
Yeah. Like
not through a window, go outside, get some vitamin D in your eyes. You'll absorb vitamin D, and your body will start creating melatonin. Also. Okay. So when you go to sleep at night and you have a completely pitch dark room, you actually release the melatonin that you acquired that morning.
Huh. That's why pitch dark rooms are preferable.
Perfect for that. So even your circadian rhythm helps balance your hormonal cycle. So getting on the same time schedule, getting that early morning sunlight, and showing that you're getting a cortisol spike in the morning and you're getting that morning wood, those are really good signs that your testosterone's on point.
Okay.
So then when you hit the 7-day mark of not ejaculating, you have this buildup of testosterone and not conscious, especially if you're someone that releases more than 3 days a week. That can be a substantial amount of energy that's being stagnant, that you're used to being excreted out. You know what I mean?
So I'll say two things. I guess both are to me, but one of them I want to say so that it's out there because it could be that I'm not the only one that is the way that I am. So
well, that's why I think you might have a higher testosterone level, a higher base testosterone level.
Could be. So I'll just say once that's flushed out, I'm ready to go. I'm actually energized from it being flushed out.
Yeah.
I know I've seen I joke about these rom-coms where the dudes nut and then they fall asleep.
Yeah.
That's never been I'm literally the opposite. I'm ready to just go do in a much more clear headspace. Now, that may just be for me, but it may be for other people who see this. That could be the reaction they have. The other thing I wanted to touch on was you talked about the circadian rhythm, which I absolutely, and it sounds even stupid to me to say I'm on board with circadian rhythm. Like, that's just evident. We all have that. But you know me, I prefer to sleep during the day and be awake all night. So, do you have any sort of, like, guesses as to why that may be? Because I would be technically missing that vitamin D window, spike, right? Yeah. So, could you, like, acknowledge and sort of give an opinion on why that may be that works for me? Because I feel like there's other people too that are more night creatures and sleep during the day.
But like, how often are you out in daylight?
Well, kind of every day, but it's because, for example, my schedule's usually I'm up all night. I'll go to bed around 7 a.m. between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. So I am getting that morning sun at the end of what I would call my day. And then I sleep from 7 till 4, 9 till 6.
So what matters the most of this, your circadian rhythm's probably completely fucked, by the way.
Yeah, but for me, I know that this gives me more balance. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm kind of like a...
You also could be extremely vitamin D deficient.
And what would be the evidence of that? Like, what would I see in myself that would indicate that condition?
Erratic behavior, bad hormonal levels, your ability to, like, regulate your mood. Vitamin D is also creates serotonin. Helps create a lot of hormones in your body. Like, overall well-being, man. Like,
okay.
If you feel like shit, it's probably because you're not getting enough sunlight.
So it's
or sunlight at the right times.
That's fair, and that, like, this is good info for somebody because I don't experience that. So then I just have more questions now because I wanted to hear that list and check myself to see if, like...
Now look at this. Like, if you are waking up at a time where you are still exposed to sunlight, that could still work. It might not be optimum, which is a different story.
Mm.
As long as you're getting that, that could suffice.
Okay.
Let's say you get up at 4, like you normally do, and you wake up and it's light outside.
Yeah.
And you go about your day, and as long as you get those, like, 5 to 15 minutes of, like, direct sun exposure into your retinas, you'll be able to sleep. Like, do you have problems sleeping?
No.
So as long as you're getting that,
yeah,
you're able to create all those hormones in your body.
Okay. Because I'll say something to add to yours. I notice, because I'm up all night, right, and when sunrise happens, like, say 7 a.m., I do get a boost of energy where it's like, I could probably stay awake till, like, 3 p.m., but I've already been up since 4 the day previous, so that would make me up almost 24 hours. I could do that. I know that after noon, I start to get a little loopy, and it's like, because I've done this, like, I get that spike and say I have a project that I'm working on, like, fuck it, I'm going to continue. So I keep on it, and then hit noon, it's like, I don't even know, like, do I need some food? Do I need, like, I do get, so I have to typically go to bed. So I'm saying that to say that the sunlight thing, I definitely notice when it hits, it does give that boost of energy.
Yeah.
Now, I wanted to say something completely aside from what you have, this still connects, but I have a theory that why I might like to be asleep during the day is because everybody else is awake, and I think that thoughts, like, happen in what I would call an ether sphere. Like, they're, we feel them, we think them in our heads, but there is this energy.
You're going with this, yeah.
So I think that the day is almost too crowded, because at night it's like I feel that stillness, and it's like I've said this to myself. It's like it's because there's not idiots awake thinking idiotic thoughts as much as during the day. So this to me is a theory, and I'm just kind of saying this if in chance somebody watches this and they're like, I stay up at night and, like, I do enjoy the night, and, like, I don't experience these vitamin D deficiency attributes, and, like, I am aware that it's
we're also way more likely
different.
to experience those vitamin D things because we live in Canada too. go outside and get those rays into our eyes, you know what I mean? Like,
fair, but it could be that those factors are factors for one group, and then another group has a different set of factors that don't really follow the same structure as the group of people who need who get vitamin D deficient, right? Like, I don't know scientifically what's going on. Like, perhaps you're saying I have more testosterone, perhaps there's more vitamin D. Like, I don't know that, but in hearing the negative side effects, I know that I don't experience those. So to me, it then points to I must be supported in a different way. Like, what I do for me helps me, and so I'm just saying if there's any individuals who prefer to be up all night and sleep during the day, why I think that I like to do it is because of the stillness and quiet of night and the less amount of people thinking, and I do think that thoughts fill up the air. And so during the daytime, I notice that I don't think as well. So I'm never disappointed to sleep away the day.
I see what you're getting with that. I got 2 points. Points to make here. First one, these are the symptoms of vitamin D deficiency.
Mm-hmm.
It may include fatigue,
mm-hmm.
not sleeping well, same thing.
Yeah.
Bone ache or achiness, depression or feelings of sadness, hair loss, muscle weakness, loss of appetite, getting sick more easily.
So, see, none of those.
Cause your bones become thin and brittle.
No.
Also play a role in your immune system or insulin production.
Well, see, this, I guess, is just the perfect point of science. You read these things, and these are accurate to people. Like, it doesn't mean that science is not accurate because something else is accurate. And so I would say that there's also the reading that can put you in this, trap of the belief, achieving what you're believing. Mm-hmm. So, you read this and you think, oh, well, it's bad that I'm staying up all night because this I'm now at a risk for. And so if you worry about being at risk for that, well, then it's more likely that you're going to be at risk for that. I don't really worry that I'm at risk for that. I've not noticed those things, so I just don't, think that that's anything that I have to be concerned about.
Yeah.
My concern is more so curiosity of why it is that this thing is what wouldn't typically be suggested does actually reap benefits for me. So I guess that's where I offer that theory of the thoughts.
It could be that, or it could be that it hasn't caught up to you yet, too.
But I'm not going to believe that, right? Because, I don't want that to be true, so I'm not going to even consider that as a potential to be true. And I have been doing this for 7 years, so I think, that's enough time to have had that catch up. I'll check in when I'm 50 and let you know.
And one more thing, I think, before we wrap this up, it's getting pretty long here. So the cool thing you're talking about, at night, those thoughts aren't as cluttered or as idiotic as you would say. So you think you're able to think better because it's not being polluted.
More space. If it's a big canvas.
So now do you think that people dreaming are still in that sphere?
Well, because we know this. Your dreams are kind of your uninhibited self. They may be reflections of your inhibited self to show you that you don't have to be that, but your dreams are not as physical and visceral, right? They are very real, but they're real in a different way that the waking hours are real.
Right.
Both real. I'm not trying to take any way of diminished dreams. I'm just saying that
I have a theory. So this is what I was getting at with this, is that maybe your thoughts are in the same frequency as other people's thoughts. Okay. But when people are sleeping at night, their brainwaves are in different vibrations. Like you've heard of theta and alpha and delta and all these different types of brainwaves. So maybe because you're thinking in a different frequency, you're not being affected by the other ones. And then since when you're in the waking day, people are within the same realm of frequency. So if you wanted to get out of that, you need to go into a different state, whether it be through meditation or sleep, which is what you do. So that would make sense. And this is actually a scientific approach to that.
No, I'm on board with that, and I like that because that kind of gives it some merit other than just me like theorizing. It's kind of components that we understand. It's true added to it.
So if you want to avoid that specific vibration or frequency or whatever it may be, I don't remember what they all are right now. I could probably bring them up. Whether it's like, I think it might be theta.
Yeah.
I don't.
But it fits like if there's one during the day that's more prominent, and then at night.
You understand what I'm getting at with that, right?
Yeah, I sleep away the times that interfere with me the most, and am awake in the times that interfere with me the least. Know thyself. We're gonna
wrap it up here. Tap a wrapper.
We were gonna draw a card. I think you should use the moon deck with all this conversation about Santa Claus coming down
the
chimney.
magic, I love this. Let's go, bud.
I'm going to draw one from John Holland's The Psychic Tarot Oracle Deck, a 65-card deck and guidebook. I am going to ask for maybe any more insight into the episode that should mention or could be mentioned. Be my intention. Set one for yours.
I just grabbed a card. The one that spoke to me.
It was on the nose.
Yeah.
Alright, well you can read through yours while I'm shuffling.
Read through it. So I'm not sure how this deck is actually works.
Well, just show them the card first.
So it says, taking the moonlight.
So that's fitting to taking Santa Claus down your chimney. Oh, another one.
It pops out. It's moon hair.
Moon hair.
That's also fitting because we are now entered the year of the rabbit. Chinese astrology.
Yeah. They're numbered, so they just go following your taking moonlight. There's no like reverse thing, so you just kind of.
One second. So, taking the moon, another card of love and romance, of course. Dating, flirtation, and charm. Interesting. That's funny because Kaylin just got a necklace that has the shape of the moon on it.
Dating said Caitlin.
I am dating said Caitlin. Taking the moonlight indicates something that is more casual or a new romance that is in the first stages of development. This part of dating and meeting someone by the moonlight for fun and friendship, which could possibly lead into something more serious later on. Interesting that.
Sorry, Kaylin.
It could be her. It could be just a friend. Who knows?
Yeah.
Could be a new mate. Who fucking knows? Hope not. I like her. Like her.
As you should.
This far, at least.
You read mine while you're looking for yours.
So the other one, the moon hair.
Yeah.
The moon hair is a symbol of fertility. Okay. Well, you know what's funny? I had a dream last night that Caitlin got pregnant.
A premonition.
Yeah. Fertility, transcendence, rebirth. About rebirth.
Mm-hmm.
It's the time of regeneration and rebirth. This card could also indicate fertility of a growing family with children and grandchildren on the horizon. Alternatively, it could mean that you're entering a time into a creative fertility When your imagination is fired up for new projects and idea, follow these ideas to see where they will take you.
Well, we are having the rebirth of Contact Pluto tonight, so...
That's pretty interesting. There's a lot of symbolism in this deck. I like it.
I get... Seems perplexing, at least at first glance. I got Disruption, verse 16. Through this here... 16... Alright. Sudden, usually unforeseen disruption or major change is happening or is about to take place. Even if it appears to be a negative experience, it can lead to enlightenment or a total shift in your lifestyle. In traditional tarot meanings, this card represents the falling tower that eventually crumbles due to its weak foundation. Whichever part of your life you focus on, this is an opportunity to rebuild with a solid positive structure to make you or the situation even stronger. For the podcast, this makes a lot of sense. We're in a new location. It's a little more stable. We've got definitely some components that weren't a part of the other one. There are times when the most difficult situations arise in your life. If you choose to, they can act as a catalyst to heal other areas. They're beneficial because they're truly your greatest teachers. Learn from the past mistakes, accept them, and integrate them into your life as stepping stones. To be forewarned is to be forearmed. This disruption card is a reminder that negative thinking, limiting beliefs, ignoring problematic situations, and risky or careless lifestyles must be addressed so that positive changes can take place. Life has a habit of moving you forward whether you are ready for it or not. Transformation of body, mind, and soul can happen if you view this dramatic time or change as an opportunity for growth. In the future, you may look back and be thankful for this opportunity. If I think about it in regards to the podcast, this has been awesome to get back on the couch with you. Or now it's a couch,
now it's a couch.
Table. It kind of fits to a lot of aspects. The room's purple. I've got browns, which wouldn't have ever been in my color scheme prior to. The technology, our technology's been updated.
Yep.
We're on a webcam, this blue ball fucking microphone. Sir?
Oh, God, you're going to have some sweet dreams tonight at 7 a.m.
I gotta actually stay up till 9 because I gotta go to Canadian Tire again and get my tire fixed. Yeah, I guess to me there's obvious ones with podcasts and the new spin on it.
Yeah.
I think in my own life, we're kind of in the transition of trying to move, so this location may not be the location you see forever. Well, it won't be the one you see forever. I just don't know how soon it will disappear from the camera's view. Those are the only things I've got that are major. And if there's but this said unforeseen, so I'm looking forward to that.
Unforeseen.
Yeah.
Yeah, it hasn't been seen yet.
Throw it to me, Ma.
It's been a pleasure, guys.
As always, we love you all. You achieve what you believe, so believe well.
Links down below for other videos from the past.
Yeah, we'll post it up to our Contact Pluto page, so those should be there. Our Instagrams will be there if you want to follow us. Click like, subscribe, all that nonsense.
If you've made this far, thank you.
That's another thing. Appreciate it. Yeah? Cheers.
Cheers.